Okay, it's just me tonight. Week of the first prelims, so this is very exciting. We got a lot to cover tonight. I'm just gonna get right into it because I know some of you complained that the last episode was 56 minutes, but some of you did listen to most of it. Many of you did. But I'll shorten it for those who complained. I listened to feedback, so we're gonna get right into it tonight. Everyone wants to know the initial rankings. Now here's the good thing: these really don't matter that much because things are going to work themselves out during prelims and the bracket round. I think I've fully explained how everything is going to work as far as that goes. But we do have to have a starting point when it comes to these rankings. So a lot of people were asking me all week long, and it was kind of nice having this knowledge. I kept it to myself, but now it's ready for the world to know. I did have some fun with it. I won't throw any names under the bus, but a lot of people were asking me, and so I decided to send a fake ranking list out to a few people just to get their reactions. And I thought it'd be funny to put Swarm number one. Some people didn't think that was funny, so apparently they think I would rig the whole tournament just so that Swarm can be number one. But you'll find out very quickly that that's not the case. Yeah, it was funny. No big deal. Obviously, I think everyone realizes it's a lot of work to put on the tournament. And to be honest, the last thing on my mind while we're playing the day of is how I could maneuver things so that the Swarm could win. You could ask the team. I'm usually out in left field just thinking about all the other stuff going on with the tournament to make sure it's going well. Anyways, that's my little rant about that. So to the rankings. Let's start with the Mountain Division. Now, one of the things that's great for me this year is that we have, let's see, at least 8 returning teams or 9 returning teams, complete returning teams for the most part. So if you've been paying attention, I said the rankings would basically follow how last year ended, right? I don't need to tell you where the teams finished last year and how they ended up because it took care of itself on the field. So if you listen to that, then this won't be much of a surprise to you as we go through this. So let's start in the Mountain Division. Now the division names, we've had them for a couple years. There's no real rhyme or reason to them, but over time they've kind of taken on a little bit of life of their own. The Mountain Division is, right, a lot of the top teams, the most skilled teams are in this group. So we think of the mountains of Maine. It's arduous. There can be a lot of work, but of course, it's very satisfying to get to the top. So the Mountain Division is where you will see the most difficult journey, we could say. So here it is. We'll start here with the Mountain. Here are the 4 teams, how they'll start out. So we got Wicked High Mileage number 1. Not a surprise. Incredible Hucks, now Wicked High Mileage. They won the Mountain Division last year, so they're number 1 to start out this year. I think that's fair. I don't think there'll be too many complaints. Frisbees, number 2. They finished 2nd in the Mountain Division last year. So they'll start out 2nd in Mountain this year. Their team is basically unchanged. There's the Swarm, 3, right exactly how I concocted it all along to end up number 3 in the Mountain Division. Here they are, the Swarm. Why are they 3? That's where the Swarm finished last year because in the final consolation game, it defeated High Flyers. So High Flyers will be 4th. That's where they ended up last year. So pretty straightforward. Now, if I'm being honest, I think 1 and 2 have separated themselves. I think those 2 teams are very, very talented, very good. But we'll see. That's why we play the games. I think Swarm, High Flyers Club, a few others that we'll talk about in a minute here would like to get a shot to play these teams, and it will happen. So we'll see how it shakes out. But that's how things will start for Mountain Division. Moving on to the Mid-Coast Division. Lag, number 1. not a surprise that they're going to start out at number 1 because they won the Mid-Coast Championship last year. So there they are. They defeated Panic at the Disco. They played them twice in last year's Classic. And they came out on top each time, but Panic ended up runner-up in that division, so they'll start out right there. Number 2, pretty straightforward. Number 3, Land Sharks. They finished third in the Mountain Division last year. You get the idea here. Now here's our first change-up, I guess you could say. We have Wind Chill as number 4 in Mid-Coast. Why is Wind Chill there? Well, Wind Chill basically combined forces, Airbenders and Ice Discs. They kind of came together as one team, and that team had won the Down East division last year. So because they're combining forces, we bumped them up a spot to start out with this year. So they're starting out right there in the Mid-Coast division. So that'll be exciting to see how that turns out. And I think all these teams between Mountain and Mid-Coast, we're going to see some good matchups. And don't forget, after the prelims shake out, all 3 prelim games, not just the 2 we play before, but then the first game on the main day is a prelim. After that's all shaked out, they'll be placed in the bracket. Now you'll notice Lag started out 1 in Mid-Coast and High Flyers is 4 in Mountain. Well, we're going to find out very quickly if that'll change or not, because Lag and High Flyers play a prelim game. So remember how the format works. Depending on the result, like for example, if Lag defeats High Flyers, they will take their place in the ranking up in the Mountain Division, and High Flyers will come down to the 1 spot in Mid-Coast. During the prelims, it could change at any moment depending on the result. So if a lower ranked team beats a higher ranked team, they will switch places. That's how it's going to work. That's how it worked last year, and that's how it's going to work this year. So should be interesting. Very interesting. Now, let's move on to Down East. We'll keep this rolling. Here it is, Down East. Number 1, we'll start out with Discombobulators. They ended up 4th in Mid-Coast last year. This isn't a step down for them. I just think there's, we have some new teams that have joined, and trying to figure out where to put the teams. We started Discombobulators in Down East, number 1 slot. This is where it starts to get difficult for me because now the teams are new and different, and honestly, we'll see what happens. I don't. This is my best guess, but that's why we play the games on the field. We'll see. So don't come at me too strong because I don't know the teams super well. So there's no discussion in number 2. It's a new team. They'll start out there, and they will get many opportunities to move up or establish their position in this division. So then we have 3 Capeless Saw Guerreras. Kind of a new team, not really. We know them. They played in the past. Last year they were part of Lawn Monsters. Now added some new members. That core of teams has competed very closely with Discombobulators over the years, very evenly. So no surprise, they're start out in the same division. And the same thing for Tortilla Tossers, rounding out the Down East division. It's going to be I think we're going to see a lot of good games. Good. So now we'll go down to our final division, Southern Division. I forgot to mention Mid-Coast, why we named it the Mid-Coast. It's hardworking people live on the Mid-Coast. They're lobstermen, fishermen. So it's known for its hard work, but also its beauty. So Mid-Coast, great play. There we go. Down East, it's vacation land. I think a lot of fun teams are in the Down East. Also known for its beauty. Southern Maine is youthful. So therefore we have a very youthful division here. And some older ones in this division too. But it's fun. It's a fun group of teams. So Young and the rest of us, I have them in as number 1 starting out. I do not know. I think who will be interesting to see how this shakes out. That's the fun part. they're basically returning their full team, Young and the rest of us. So with a few new additions. So we'll start about at number 1 because of that, right? They're returning. They got the experience. We'll see how that goes. Slip Disc, new team. I really don't know. We'll see. A lot of people are somewhat new to the game, but also they got some good players. Practiced with a few of them this week. 3, we got Field Invaders, Kyle's team. And then 4, Up in the Air, another team with some youth and some veteran presence on it. So I can't wait. Friday night, we're going to see all 4 of those teams in action this Friday at Prelims. So be on the lookout for coverage this Friday. This group of 4 teams you will see in action. So here's the ranking altogether. The initial ranking, this is going to change, but this is how we're starting out. And if you remember in the bracket, Mid-Coast and Mountain will have a playoff. That's the first playoff game of the bracket. So one final chance for there to be some change in the divisions. And same thing for Down East and Southern. So because of that, because those are the matchups in the playoff round, you're going to see several Mid-Coast Down East matchups in the prelims, you noticed, to give opportunity for change to happen between those 2 divisions. So everyone has an opportunity to have some competitive games, a chance to move up, a chance to test themselves. It's going to be great. So that is that. There's the ranking. It's out of the way. We'll post it, but you had to tune in to this update to be the first to know. That's it. So Friday night, this Friday, prelims starting at 7 o'clock. So those 4 teams I mentioned there, the Southern teams, will be there on Friday night. Check the schedule for specific matchups. And then Saturday afternoon, we have 6 teams. Six more teams will be coming for their prelims. Some good matchups that day. Check the schedule to see. And we will have, obviously, tons of coverage of those games coming up. So looking forward to it. Like I said, we've had a few practices as of late. And I got to say, I guess one thing that stood out to me is Frisbees look very good. They look good. They played good. The Swarm, we kind of had a scrimmage against them. Didn't keep score or anything, but they're ready to go. So it was impressive to see them in action. A few other teams that we saw in action, not full teams, obviously, because not everyone could make it. But that was one takeaway I've had from the practices. So we'll see. This weekend, it starts. Okay. So now let's move on to a few things we could cover. I thought we could talk about just rules real quick. Of course, we're going by the USA Ultimate rules. So the beauty of this is it's on each and every player to have an understanding of the rules. Because we do not have referees. We have people who can observe. And generally speaking, I'll be the one that you can ask for a ruling on. But it's worked very well the last couple of years where the players resolve situations amongst themselves. And that's worked very well. But of course, because of the unique setup of our tournament, there's a few rule adaptations that we had to make to fit our event. So I just wanted to go over some of those. I sent them to captains. It's been made known in the past, but I thought I'd just review them real quickly here. So as everyone knows, we play 6-on-6, 6 players on the field, and at least 2 need to be female. Also, the games are 25 minutes long, same as last year. Now, here's one that is very important that everyone have an understanding of. End of game. How does the game end? Now, in USA Ultimate, they usually play to a certain score, but we just have a timed game. But it doesn't necessarily end when the clock hits 0. Here's what happens. Here's how we have the rules stated. The team with possession of the disc while the clock expires may finish the possession until a score or a turnover occurs, which will end the game. Possession is considered changed once a goal is scored. So, what does that mean? Bunch of garbly gook. Well, let's watch an example. I thought this was very appropriate from last year. See, we had the game Airbenders and Ice Disc. Airbenders, the game is tied. They score right here with 44 seconds left in the game. Now, at this point, no matter what happens, even if the clock runs out, Ice Discs are guaranteed one more chance to score. So, let's say Airbenders had scored with literally 2 seconds left. As long as the score happened while there's still time on the clock, possession is considered change. That's what we mean by that. So now Ice Discs get a chance right here. Now in this example, I think they're aware of it. I'm not sure, but they end up throwing with time left on the clock. But he could have held it and let the clock hit 0. And they could have still kept going until they either turned it over or scored. Let's say they scored and tied the game. Well, then at that point, it would be sudden death. The next scorer would win. So I just want to make sure everyone is clear on that. You're going to hear the buzzer sound and the clock will say 0, but you can still keep playing until that particular possession is over. So it's a good thing because it eliminates stalling and things like that. It gives teams an opportunity to tie the game or win the game, depending on the circumstances. It's worked well in the past, but I think sometimes there's a little bit of a confusion there as to how exactly it works. Other rules that are different. Obviously, there's no timeouts, even though those are in the official rules. And then you'll see the phrase a brick mark. Basically, the brick mark is where play can be restarted from. And now this especially comes into play on the throw off or the pull. So our brick mark, usually on an ultimate field, there's a couple brick marks, usually one on either side of the field. But we only have one on this field. It's the center line, right? The middle dot. So if the throw off in the air lands out of bounds, meaning it never touches in bounds, and lands out, then you can start the possession, your possession, at that center mark, that brick mark. So that's in the rules of Ultimate. It would be, let's see, I had it marked here. Oh, it's number 6. Let me just tell you what exactly it is if you want to look it up. But, yes. So chapter 9 of the Ultimate Rules, starting and restarting play, section B, under the pull, under point 6. I'll even just read it, just to bore you even more. You can skip ahead and if you don't want to hear it. But this is what it says. If the pull hits the ground, if the disc, I'm reading part A right here. If the disc initially hits and remains in bounds, it is in play where it comes to rest or stopped. So we'll just go through each scenario here, I guess, because they're listed. So you start where the disc lands, basically. So if it stays in bounds, this can mean it can even roll into the end zone. You cannot bring it up to the center line. You got to start from where it stops. So here's another situation. If the disc initially hits in bounds and then becomes out of bounds, like it rolls out before anyone touches it, it says it is put into play at the spot on the central zone, excluding the end zones, nearest to where it first crossed the perimeter line to become out of bounds. So what that means basically is if the disc is thrown, this is on the throw off, the pull, hits in bounds, rolls out of bounds, like on the sideline, you would come to the sideline and start from there. That's the nearest spot where it crossed out of bounds, because the central zone is the main field minus the end zones. So what that also means is if the disc is thrown on the pole, lands in bounds, rolls maybe into the end zone, and then out of bounds, well, then you can actually take it up to the goal line because that's the nearest spot on the central zone, excluding the end zone. So you can come up to the goal line on that situation. So a little confusing, I know, but that's why it's good for everyone to know the rules so that we can properly communicate it to everyone. So I'm going to stop there on rules, but it's just good for everyone to read up on those things. So that kind of carries us to the next thing I wanted to talk about as we go into the tournament, and that is sportsmanship. And if you know anything about Ultimate or have read up on the USA Ultimate website, there's something called Spirit of the Game, which is basically sportsmanship. So I know some of you might roll your eyes at this, but it is really neat, some of the concepts that are talked about there. And we will be awarding Spirit of the Game awards. They call them Spirit Awards or Sportsmanship Awards. That's what we've called them in the past. But we're trying to align ourselves more closely with our full USA Ultimate rules. So that's something we'll do. So what does it mean to display good sportsmanship or spirit of the game in Ultimate? So on the site, if you look up, they have a whole section on it. It talks about the basics of good spirit. One, players make their own calls. So that means that it's, like it says here, there's personal responsibility and an expectation to play fairly and maintain integrity of the game. So that means, right, we're in a game where there's a referee, you might try to get away with an infraction, hoping the referee won't see you. Well, now you're your own referee. You know you've done it or not. So that's how we can make our own calls. And I think everyone's done good at that. We're really doing well. In fact, the rules of Ultimate include this good sportsmanship. So it's written right into the rules that if you've read them, you've probably read the whole section on Spirit of the Game because it's right in the rules. So also there's something here on the site. It says focus on fair play. What are we talking about? Well, it says here, and I think we can hopefully appreciate this, is that instead of promoting a win at all cost mentality, Spirit expects players not to take advantage of or knowingly break the rules. So I know that we will do that and continue to do it. And then there's a famous quote from the rules. It says, highly competitive play is encouraged, but never at the expense of mutual respect among competitors, adherence to the agreed upon rules, or the basic joy of play. So what does good sportsmanship, good spirit of the game look like? It says here, mutual respect, right? We have mutual respect for our opponents, right? They're our friends, not just our opponents in that situation. So we're all friends. So we deal with each other that way. So that'll include conflict resolution, right? Doesn't mean we're going to agree that a certain call, right? We might have a disagreement. How do we handle it? Feels like I'm getting a talk, but this is just right the spirit of the game. You know, it's great. It says wherever there's a disagreement about a call, players are expected to resolve the dispute on their own by expressing their perspective and listening to others. So, look, I know I've been there. It's easy in the moment to be heated, like, no, I'm right, you're wrong. You're trying to blah, blah. Just breathe. Remember, this is nothing. That, you know, if it means, hey, you take it, no problem, or yep, you're right, just no big deal. In the end, what's the most you miss out on? A little medal, right? Don't worry about it. So players are expected to know the rules then. So it's a little daunting to read them all, but it's really not that bad. But it's good to just have that. It mentions here too, body control. What are we talking about? It says players should avoid fouling, intentional contact, and dangerous plays. So that's part of good sportsmanship, right? If we have that win at all cost mentality, we might throw ourselves in those situations more often, but we dial it back just a little bit. That'll that'll be good. And remember, especially in our event, we've got people of all different ages playing, right? There could be someone who's fairly young on the field with us. Just be aware of that. Some of us are bigger, stronger than others. We wouldn't want to barrel through somebody who's smaller and weaker and cause an injury. So we've done really well at that. So let's keep it up. Yeah, and that's basically it. So like I mentioned, we will be handing out those sportsmanship awards, those spirit awards, and I will be doing so. Last year was a catastrophe. I had something set up to so you could nominate players and teams, and it just did not work out. That was my bad. But this year I set up a Google Forms thing, so you'll see me sending a link to that, and that'll even start this weekend. So you can nominate a player for one of these awards, and part of the nomination is even writing in why you're nominating them. Is it a specific play? You know, oh, I saw so and so, they helped somebody up, or wow, they handled a tense situation really well. So put that in there, and you can nominate. You can do it as many times as you want. You can nominate as many players as you like. Put space in there for up to 3, but you can just submit another form if you'd like to. And then you can nominate teams too. What team in general do you think embodied the spirit of the game? And you can nominate multiple teams. So let's do that and make that an important thing to do this year. So we're looking forward to that. What other medals will there be? Well, the same as last year. Each team that wins their division will get a medal. I got them in about a week ago. They look the same ones as last year. They have a little engraving on the back with this year's tournament information. And then each division will have some all-stars too, to reward the excellent play, quality of play as well. So yeah, that is about. Oh, thank you. And Kayla's here too. And she's helping me out. I'm flying solo tonight. I hope this is not too boring for you. I could use a guest if you're interested in joining for, because we'll probably have a recap of this weekend's prelims and then a preview of the final weekend of prelims and the tournament. So I'd love to have a guest in. Let me know if you want to do that. That'd be great.
I did volunteer, you know.
Oh, yeah. You're here. What do you got to say?
No, that's fine.
Let's know. What do you got? You got any feedback?
I'm excited for the prelims this weekend.
Prelims,
so
that's right.
Everything shakes out and sets the tone for the tournament.
Yes.
Should be good.
Okay. Is there a matchup in particular you're looking forward to?
I'm just interested to see how wind chill shakes out and how they actually do rank. Kind of interesting, to see.
I don't think it matters to them how they started out the ranking.
Yeah. No, they don't care at all. No, but I, regardless of the team, I think it's interesting that yes, these rankings are out there, but you don't need to be defined by your ranking.
I love wind chill for the record.
Yeah.
Look, let's face it. Frisbees were our little brother team forever. I feel like we play them a lot. I feel like we showed them. I don't want to say how to play, but yeah, and now, they pass us by. So we need a new, little brother team to help us out. Maybe it could be wind chill.
Yeah.
We have brotherly love for them.
Well, and with each year that passes too, like you said, the skill level is gonna go up.
Yeah.
Because I think Frisbee, not that I've played it very often, but from what I understand, it's it's a bit of a strategy game. It's not just like any other typical sport that we're used to playing. So
it is really. I mean, I'm not saying we don't have a chance against Frisbees. Well,
of course not, yeah.
But it is cool to see very skilled players play, and they are good.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's enough of their number. Yeah, we got it. We love you guys. I think that's it. Just remember one thing: the final night of prelims on the 29th, we adjusted the time. I did make a post about that. It was starting at 8 o'clock, starting at 7 o'clock now. So all those game times that are listed on I think the Instagram post 1 hour earlier. So that'd be nice. So we can get a nice, good night to rest before the 30th, the main day. And there was we talked about the celebration games that will be happening that night as well. They're going to be happening in between the breaks of those prelim games that night. So you're not going to have to stay late if you're part of it or come too early. It'll be part of the night in general. So, yeah, I'd love to see as many people come the 29th too, the night before the tournament. Welcome our out of state guests, observe, play in those celebration games if you've been invited. And yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else to add, and I did this one in 30 minutes. So, see ya.